Secrets, trade secrets. Design, very good, yes.
Except the last 5, the first 6 all.
Except the last 5.
Geographical
Okay.
indication, time varieties, traditional knowledge, except integrated circuits, biodiversity.
Exactly. So within one particular product, you can have multiple IPs. Now within this phone itself, it is not necessary that, Apple has all the intellectual property. There will be certain softwares, for example, the chip that is being used, right, will be protected by another company. But Apple is using that chip in its product. So it is licensing that from another company. So when we speak about IPs, okay, we will speak about that at the end any which way. But to start with also, for instance, say you have a property, okay? Now what can you do with this property? You can sell it, okay? You can rent it out. Then you can use it for yourself. Anything else? Sorry? Renovate, okay. Anything else?
So we will generate one more,
very good. So, and how about lease? Leasing out, okay. So rental is you pay it on a monthly basis. Lease is for an extended period of time. So IPs work exactly in the same way as a property does. It's all about how you generate the revenue. You can choose to use that IP to generate revenue. You can choose to license out that IP to generate revenue. You can give it for a limited period of time, which is through royalties, right? And rent it out for a certain period of time. You can generate IPs through that. And as we said, so you can use it, you can sell it off, you can manufacture something from it, you can rent it out, you can lease it out, all of the things that you do with a normal property. Now coming to an IP, which is the most spoken about and also in terms of value is actually very high, okay? So the first one is patents. Now patents are given for two things, products or processes. It is very important that these have to be technical innovations or scientific innovations and inventions in general. There's a small difference between inventions and innovations, okay? But inventions and innovations can both be protected under patents. Now what is the term of a particular patent? It is for 20 years, which means for 20 years nobody else can use that technology. So it is a right which you get. It is a monopoly. Now why are you given this monopoly? Why should you be given this monopoly?
Because it is your own idea.
It is your idea, okay?
It's not being used or not being commercialized.
Right.
As of now.
Okay. So across the world, there is a thumb rule when it comes to any form of IP. When you generate an IP, you need to be rewarded for this creation of an idea, okay? So now this reward mechanism differs. Now why are you rewarding somebody? Because you want to get something else out of it, okay? So under most countries or under the international law itself, every patent is given a term of 20 years. Now in these 20 years, you can monopolize this technology. You can sell it to anybody, you can do whatever you want with this technology. But after 20 years, this will fall into the public domain. So I and you will be able to use it freely. Now all of you remember, for example, say how many of you have seen the cordless phones which used to come earlier, the heavy ones, right? And then slowly what happened? You had other phones, black and white, which eventually turned into color phones, and now you have smartphones. Let's take a look at the price difference that used to be there, okay? Now that phone that we're talking about, my father used to tell me that he got one for his boss from Dubai for 45,000. It was a cordless phone, nothing. Forget WhatsApp, forget Instagram, forget any of this. But that was the price point at that point of time. Now why did the price drop eventually? Because exactly, technology advanced, it came into the public domain. So there were a lot of companies which were now able to use that technology into their products. So for a patent, that is its life cycle. For 20 years, I will give it to you to enjoy the monopoly. As soon as 20 years are exhausted, it should come to the public so that it can benefit the public. Now, what are the requirements for a patent? A patent is a lot more stringent when it comes to registration. It's not easy to get a patent, okay? And as Dr. Kalyan was also mentioning, a lot of the times, universities or educational institutions, although they are filing a lot of patents, their grant rate is very less. Why is that? First and foremost reason, as we said, is the strength of the technology itself. Okay? A lot of universities are focused on filing, but they forget about the patentability part of it. Now, there are certain factors which govern the patentability, which is it should be novel or it should be new. It should be useful and it should not be obvious. Many times the first two parameters are satisfied. Novelty is satisfied and they are useful also. But when it comes to non-obvious, what that means is, if, for example, you have published a paper, okay, of the same technology, it might be just giving some information. A lot of engineering institutes, for that matter, a lot of technical institutes are focused on publications. So when they publish their research or publish their ideas before they file for a patent, even though it is your own idea, it becomes very difficult to get a patent. So that is where the patent office checks and says your own application is a problem to you, so you cannot get a patent. So that is one of the most important things when it comes to patenting, that you first, if you think that there is a technology which you can protect, first file the application, then you do the publication.
How about within 20 years, imagine I have a patent and I tweak. So can I extend the number of years?
Yes. So there is a particular prohibition within the law saying that small modifications which you are making to the patent cannot be allowed. There is also something called patent of addition, which means if I have some kind of modification which I've made to an invention, I can file it. But its term will also get over with the main patent. So it is, for example, if you have a building, if you have your first ground floor built, you can only build the first floor when there is a ground floor.
On it, I can.
Exactly. But if that ground floor does not exist, then you cannot build the first floor. Right? So, same way, the law tries to stop somebody from going over by making small changes. They try to extend the term. So the law tries to prevent that. Now, as we spoke about, what are the rights when you get a patent? First is to use the patent itself, which means use the technology and make money out of it. The second one is to make the technology, sell the technology, offer the technology for sale, and also import the technology. Now, there are many things which are excluded by law from patenting. So there are certain things you cannot patent at all, which is frivolous inventions, discoveries, new forms of known substances, admixtures, arrangement or rearrangement, plants, animals, parts, computer programs, medical methods, literary, dramatic and artistic works, traditional knowledge, semiconductors. Now, to give you an example of the first one, what do you think? So I'll tell you what the inventions are. The first one is a head umbrella. Okay? Straightforward. It is an invention. It is new. So novelty is there. It is useful. Okay? Question mark on usefulness? No? Okay. Then it is inventive. The second one is basically a device for rotating the ice cream. So you don't have to rotate your ice cream. You just keep the ice cream and it will automatically rotate by when you press the button. The third one is a walking sleeping bag. So if you ever want to sleep, you can just close in the bus and sleep. Okay? And the fourth one is a
Spaghetti,
exactly fork for
noodles and
twirling the noodles. Okay? Now, these are all inventions. It is true. But what is their main purpose? Now, with that umbrella, you will cover your head. What about the body? Okay? Now, second thing is that somebody has to be extremely lazy that you can't even take and, turn your ice cream. Third one, not practical because it is a sleeping bag, but your legs are exposed. So what is it doing? Maybe you can use it in one of the Paris Fashion Week or something like that. Okay? And the fourth one, of course, is simply turning the noodles. So these are some examples of what are frivolous
Come on
inventions.
the ease of use also, right?
Ease of use, yes.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this. These are definitely protectable, but under a different kind of IP. Can you tell me just now, if by thought, what is the possible IP that you can protect it through? Designs. Perfect. So designs, these are definitely protectable as designs. Okay. Now, the next one, of course, was discoveries. Say tomorrow you discover a galaxy, you discover a planet, you discover apple falling again, or maybe this time jackfruit falling. Okay? So, whenever any kind of discovery that we talk about are not patentable. New forms of known substances. Now, for example, this is usually used in the pharmaceutical space, where we talk about tablets. Okay, in fact, new forms of known substances and admixtures, both are similar in that note. So anything which you have a function which you already know, tomorrow you convert it into a different form. For example, tablets. Tomorrow you convert that into an ointment. So you say it is a different invention altogether. Ointments were not there, but this composition is there. So I want to protect this. That is not protectable as a patent because it is a new form of a known substance. Similarly, for now within pharmaceutical compositions, you have many drugs, right? What they normally do is they change some composition in the drug. So that changing of the composition is not patentable. A very famous company, have you heard of Novartis? So Novartis actually tried to patent their cancer drug by making a small change to the molecule and to the form of the compound. So this was back in 2008, and the court then said, no, you cannot try to patent a new form of what is already known. The second one, the fourth one is admixtures. Lemon plus water. I get lemon juice. Anything which are two different things you mix together. In fact, we get a lot of queries from clients who say that they have a new composition. For example, they say, I have an atta, now I have added this, I have added that, I have added hundreds of different things into it, so I want to patent this. It's a very fine difference. It is patentable, but it becomes very difficult to say that this is not just a mixture. For example, a lot of people, maybe Instagram, if you would have seen, or on Facebook videos, you'll see that moringa powder is being added to atta, or some other product is being added to atta to make it nutritive. You have whole grain, 5-wheat atta and whatnot. So all of those are still considered as admixtures and a little difficult to patent unless you are able to show that each of those components are able to produce something very different and something that is not expected. For example, that atta is actually giving very good health benefits, then it is certainly patentable. Then you have arrangement and rearrangement of devices, which also I'll explain. Then you have plants, animals and parts. Do you want to be patented? Straightforward answer. Computer programs per se. Per se means by itself. So when you have a program, for example, if you write it down, what happens? Is there a result to it? No. On the paper, there is no result. You have to feed it onto a system. So having a device there becomes important. So computer program alone cannot be patented. It has to be in combination with some device or hardware. Medical methods. Obviously, you don't want to give this kind of a protection because then it will stop others from treating people. Okay. Now, literary, dramatic, and artistic works come under a separate form of IP altogether, which is copyrights.
So when it comes to this medical methods, the vaccination for COVID, is it patented?
Vaccines are products, so that is patentable. But for example, somebody says, I have developed a new style of surgery. Okay, where I, instead of putting stitches, I am going to put X marks to close the skin better. That is not patentable.
So actually, Patanjali also came out with an innovative method of treatment for COVID.
Yes.
That ran into some.
Yes. So in fact, a lot of the major problems that happen there with respect to particular products happen in the pharmaceutical space. So medical methods in general, the patent office says we cannot allow it. Then you have traditional knowledge. Have you heard of the turmeric case? Yes. So the US tried to get a patent on turmeric and its antiseptic properties. Now this is something that we have been using since I don't know how long, right? Then you have semiconductors and IC layouts, which are again protected under a different class of IP. Okay, so now we have two things here. You have a compass, you have a watch. The final product is a watch which has a compass, which has a thermometer, and which has a clock. Do you think this is patentable?
Depending on the combination, depending on the technology.
Depending on the combination technology, okay.
We already have two products that are not mixed.
It's a mixture.
It's not patented.
Okay. So some of you are saying patentable, some of you are saying not patentable. So those of you who are saying patentable have to become patent attorneys and then tell the patent office that, this is patentable. So coming back to the first thing that I spoke about, arrangement or rearrangement, okay? What that means is, if I have two devices which I know can function independently, just combining those devices together and creating a product, I cannot patent that product. You must have seen, I don't know, are there students here? Okay, so there used to be this pen which you can just, has a UV kind of a thing, with invisible ink, yeah. So you write that and then there's a UV torch where you can just look at your answers. So this is a new idea, definitely. But as I said, certain things you just cannot, because the law tells that these are not protectable. So because there are multiple devices which can function independently, you cannot file for a patent on those things. Because if I remove the compass, I know it works separately. I know that the thermometer works separately, and I know clock works separately. But yes, if you asked me that whether I can protect it, I'll definitely try and protect it, because I can say that this is very different. Nobody has ever thought about putting a thermometer in a watch, and how the functioning of the thermometer happens within the watch is something that is very different, because that means there is either mercury or there is some kind of sensor there which is able to tell me the temperature.
Always monitoring your temperature.
Correct. So there is always a potential to, it can go either ways, okay? If you go by the law, this is certainly not patentable, but depends on how strongly you're able to argue. It is exactly like when a student writes an answer which might not be correct, but they have written it in such a good way and in such a, in a way which actually makes you feel, oh yeah, possible, okay? So that is where we stand with patentability. Now, industrial designs, we spoke about the frivolous inventions, right? And you told me that they can be protected as designs. Can you tell me what is the image on the left?
Crocs.
Crocs. And what is this image on the right? Building blocks. One very famous company which... Lego. Okay. So you're sure that those are Crocs and these are Lego, correct? Lego blocks. No. So these are the real products. That is Crocs and this is the Lego block. Okay? So what I wanted to illustrate with this is designs are something which are easily replicable. So people tend to copy them a lot. And it is also something that people have not explored in terms of protection. You come up with so many simple ideas, okay, which can actually get a protection under designs. They might not be as technologically advanced as is required for patents, but they can certainly be registered under designs. Now, both of these instances, the reason why I brought them here is Crocs actually filed a suit against the person who was manufacturing this, and because of the fact that it was registered, they earned, they were awarded around 17.1 million in damages. Same thing with Lego blocks. So now, there are many block manufacturers out there, right? So what Lego did was, now Lego has a very distinct design to it, okay? And they filed a suit against this particular person, but the court said that there are so many manufacturers of this particular product, how many will you go against? But still, they did manage to get damages in this case also. Now, one thing that, is there a marker here?
Exactly the same, but I'll not put all exactly the